Boom. All right, Lojani Lichingile. They would say, of course, in the land of the Ndebele, in South Africa. It is Heritage Week. Of course, this weekend we want to celebrate our diversity, celebrate, of course, knowing the different languages and the different cultures in this particular country. So if you are Tsonga, probably we have to say, then Riperile Afsheni, Minjani Kufuka. But yes, it's another edition, of course, if you just joined us of live chats on Monday. We have this is our second season now, and every Monday at 6:30 p.m. we meet, we talk, we get some interesting topic, meet some interesting person, and speak, of course, for only 30 minutes about things that will definitely enhance your life and your knowledge on this earth. And tonight, of course, we have a great guest who's joined us to give us a bit of his wisdom. Mr. Tolerance, what's up, buddy?
I'm good, fine, and you, Mr. Ronald?
Life is good, Panas. Thanks for joining us tonight. And for those who obviously are wondering, hi man, who is this young chap appearing on our screens? Tolerance, of course, is a lighty of mine. We used to go to the same church, but what makes him sit in the hot seat tonight, of course, is that he loves doing research. He loves arguing. He's a typical doctor, if I can call him that. Final year of med school and very single and looking for a wife out there. How's the search coming along, buddy? Are you winning?
Yeah, so far everything's going well. No, but I'm still waiting on God. Like, I'm waiting on God to make things to work around. Besides that, I'm just waiting on Him because it's the one who make a way.
Sisters, you've heard it out there. The young man is waiting for you. Please holla at a brother and get yourself a doctor before he graduates. Yes, otherwise, Tolerance. This issue of COVID-19, man, is really just wreaking havoc on the world. We have now a vaccine that is supposedly the solution to all our troubles that we've seen in the past year. But from your research, from your looking around, from talking to your colleagues and seeing things happen over the past year, where did COVID come from? Let me just start you up there with that. Where did this thing come from? I mean, all of a sudden, there's a thing that makes airports close, countries close their borders for stay at home. We've never seen anything like this in our lives.
Okay, like to start with that, so COVID like is a group, like COVID-19 is a group of coronaviruses. So the reason why they call the coronavirus is because it has a crown on, like it's a virus, it's a spherical virus which has a corona, like there's a crown spikes like on its surface, hence they call it coronavirus. And coronavirus is one of the viruses which affect our respiratory system, like just like any other flu, which we normally have in and every season, like during the winter season, like it's just like any normal flu that we have in any season. However, the problem which we have with coronavirus is that it's one of the viruses which is contagious. So it spreads so much rapidly, unlike any other viruses which we have, such as influenza, parainfluenza, respiratory syncytial virus, and heminoto virus, adenovirus, rhinovirus. So we do have all of that thing, and then like we get to see the first incident like Spanish flu in 1918, which was one of the biggest things, which took so many lives during that time, and then it progresses because it's one of the virus which like they spread through droplets because of droplets and something that you breathe on a day-to-day viruses. So it's easy for it to move from one person to another, unlike other viruses which we see, which they can spread through blood or they can spread through fecal oral infection and all those stuff. So this one is spread through droplets. Me breathing, I'm at risk of catching this virus anywhere rather than being anywhere. So like with coronavirus, we get to see so many strains because this is a new strain which was found out now currently, but there are other two strains before this one, which they were not as severe as the one that we have currently. The first one, it occurred in 2002, and that one, it was called the SARS-CoV-1. This one is called SARS-CoV-2. So the one in 2002, that's called the SARS-CoV-1, and also started in China in the city called Xuandi. And also it was severe, but not really that severe because they managed to contain it within that city, and it couldn't able to spread throughout the entire world because they contained it. And then the strain of it was not that severe, and it didn't cause so many effects like the coronavirus did. And we get to find another one in 2012, which it was called the MERS, like the MERS virus. of which it occurred in the Middle East. The reason why it's called MERS virus is because it was called the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. So it's part also of the coronavirus, which also affected so many people in the Middle East. And however, it was not as severe as the coronavirus because it was able to be contained and be managed. However, now we get to find this one called the SARS-CoV-2, the one that started in 2019 and was found in China, also in Wuhan. And this one, the problem, it was so rapidly spreading, it was so contagious that it was spreading repeating, like it was spreading so rapidly that it was not contained. They couldn't contain it. And by the time they tried to contain it, it was way too late because of like the measures were put in late. And then that's why the time they tried to control it and to maintain it, and it was too late because it was spread throughout the entire world. Because we are women, we move a lot, and hence now we get to see in a situation where we are currently of these viruses. And it's more like a flu, just that it's more repeat, and then the body can't really control it a lot, and hence you get to see so much side effect of it, and then so many people having to end up in ICU, and so many people having to be admitted in hospitals. But unlike in other flu, whereby you get it, but you can just stay at home, just drink your homemade remedies, and then get well, and then you become fine. But this one, because of the severe strain, it caused so many like it caused the body, like your immune response in the body try to fight the virus, but it can't keep up. It can't keep up with it. Hence, you see so many people in ICU and in hospitals because of the body try to fight it and then try to fight against it in the lungs, especially. It creates so much fluid because of the fluid. It recruits so many cells, and by it trying to recruit so many cells, it opened the blood vessels and the capillaries, and then the fluid accumulate in the lungs. Hence, we get to see so many people whenever they present, they complain about shortness of breath because your lungs, they're supposed to be empty, but now because of there's so much infection, like there's so much inflammatory response trying to work on this virus, the body recruits so much fluid, and then the body and then the lungs accumulate so much fluid that instead of now oxygen coming and changing normally, it can, because of there's a fluid in that. For it to exchange, it needs to pass through water to go into the lung, into the blood vessels, and hence it makes it difficult. And hence we get to see so many people being intubated, so many people being admitted in hospital to get extra oxygen that they need, and hence is a problem in this era which we are living in now.
So in short, it came from China.
We don't know yet. They say like the first case was identified in China, but the epidemiologists are still trying to work on still try to find out where exactly it comes from. It can be that it was the virus which we had, such as the SARS-CoV-1 or the MERS, which may be mutated and changed, or it can be that it came from China. We still don't know. They're still doing the research. Maybe we'll find out in the next coming years, like in the next coming time, to find out where exactly this thing originated, because we still don't know where it comes from.
So are you certain, can you be certain? Of course, I know, we're really working on conjecture here, but from the research that you've done and the documents that you've checked out thus far, is it something that we can really say came out of a lab, or is it something really that's just mutated from nowhere?
Some studies they said, like especially if you get to check, some studies say it's from the lab, some say it's not from the lab. You can't really able to say it's from the lab because if it was from the lab, they wouldn't allow it in the first place to be where it is, because if it was from the lab, it was going to be taken from that lab to a specific target population which they wanted to control. But now it attacked the same people which they created. Like if it was from the lab, how come then does it attack the same people who created it? So we can't really say it was the lab, but we can say it was a mutation, or we can say maybe it was from a certain animal, which certain group or certain population of people that they eat, and then it passed from the animal to human being.
So in other words, it's literally a drawing of a stick. We'll never know. In other words, not in the next day, not in the next week, because from the last time I checked, I think even China is refusing to give the United Nations a second bite at coming to investigate what actually happened in Wuhan. So this is all adding to the conspiracies. And now that we've got a vaccine, of course, it's something that kind of gives us hope and says, okay, maybe now we're going to survive this thing. We're gonna make it. Life is getting back to normal. Stadiums are back full in the UK, as you can see, of course, in the Premier League. Life is somewhat getting back to normal. In fact, from the research that's been done in the hospitals, looks like that AstraZeneca and the Pfizer jabs are reducing the amount of hospitalizations and deaths by up to 96%, I think last time I checked from the stats. And what I'm seeing as well is that, again, from those numbers, only about 1.2% of people that are fully vaccinated and do catch the virus in that short, small gap that they do end up actually, passing away. So it really, there's evidence that it really helps. Yet, the vaccination is now available in South Africa. It's free, but only 50% thus far from the last numbers have actually chosen to go and vaccinate. Why is there such hesitancy from what you're from your discussions and negotiations with people in the hospital?
Okay, like one thing that we need to know, the first thing, I think the reason why many people are hesitant about the current vaccine which we take, because people are trying to question, how is it that this vaccine, which like they're trying to find out the reason like why the vaccine was created in less than a year. That's the problem which they are fighting currently. And the only thing that they need to do, they need to understand the mechanism behind this vaccine, the current vaccine which we're having currently, because of with different types of vaccine. However, but before we can get to that different type of vaccine, we need to understand the immunity for our body first, like on how our bodies function, like whenever they encounter infection, before we can able to understand the vaccination part of it. So like our body has three types of immunities which we have. The first one is the physical barrier, physical and psychological barrier. It's the most one that we have, and hence we end up saying, they say you need to sanitize your hands whenever you enter certain areas, you need to wear the mask. Because of that mask, it prevents every droplet from your mouth from going into the atmosphere and preventing many people from being affected. And same as me wearing the mask, it prevents from other particles or other droplets from coming into my mouth. It's not really 100% protective, but it does protect me against that. And then beside the mask one, especially despite the mask and washing of the hands and making sure that our areas are clean are being sanitized on a regular basis, our body itself also, it has certain barrier mechanism which it has. For example, we have our skin. Our skin is so intact that it doesn't allow anything to pass through our skin to go deep into our body and prevent infection from getting into us. Because if that's not the case, we'll be infected everywhere, because of we are exposed to infections in every area which we live at, every environment where we are. And also we have the mucus, because our mouth is open, because we don't have a skin on the open mouth, on the nose, on the eyes, on the ears. In those areas we have the mucous membrane. It's like the lining of our mouth, the eyes, the ears, or any opening from our body, and those mucous membrane, it prevents to trap the infection and remove them. And we have the cilia, especially in our nose, the cilia which trap any, because we need to get in air, clean air, but also whenever we breathe in the air, the infection's going in also. So the cilia, they try to trap any infection which is coming into our body, and in doing that, and then prevent us. Sometimes of which we get to see whenever we have infection also, I'll put it as a barrier, but at the same time, also sort of the part of the innate immunity, the temperature of our body. Because the temperature of our body, for example, the temperature of our body, whenever, because certain organisms, they can't survive a certain temperature. So because of that, so like especially whenever you feel feverish and all those stuff, that's your body trying to fight the infection. As a result, the infection gets to die, and then your body come back to go back to normal. And also we have the pH. So certain organisms, they don't like acid. Certain organisms, they don't like the basic part of the pH. And because of that, so the body tries by all means to make certain environment uncomfortable for organisms to live in. For example, you eat something that you can eat anything. You don't know if that thing is clean or what. You don't get infection. Why? Because of your stomach, it contains acid in it. That acid doesn't allow any organism to survive in that environment, and hence you get to see that that protect your body against infection. And also your ears, also they release a solution which is sort of alkalinic and acidic. Your eyes also they release the tears. Also they have enzymes, and also they have specific temperature to prevent infection from taking place in that. And that in a nutshell is our barriers and the physiological method which our body it does to prevent against the infection. And besides that, and then if the body can't able to prevent us from getting infection from that, the second part of the body immunity come in, and we call this the innate immunity. So the innate immunity is the first one to respond if the physical barrier doesn't prevent us against that. However, the problem with this one, like, it's quite good because it recognizes infection, it goes and it goes and releases the toxins to go and destroy it. And hence, if an infection in certain areas, sometimes you feel the warmth, you feel it's paining and all this stuff. It's your immune response going there, like they go there to respond against the infection and to fight against the infection. And this one is not really specific, but it first goes there to fight against that. So anything that it encounters can able to fight against and able to battle against. But the problem with it is that this one is not really specific, and it's not really that strong. It's like a security guard standing at a specific institutions, and the thugs come and they come to destroy. The thugs come and the security guard will come, like we'll find the barriers, like which will be the fence in that case. And then this first part of immunity is going to be the security guard. So the security guard will try to fight against them. However, sometimes we have these infections which are so strong that they can able to overpower those security guards. So for this one, like I can say, those are security guards, and we call them the innate, not really specific, and the security guards, then it can be overpowered because they are weak and they don't really come with the response. So because of that, they can be overpowered. And then we have this last one, which plays an important role, and that's where then our vaccination, that's where the vaccination comes into place. And we call that thing the adaptive. So we call it the adaptive immunity. And so what does this thing means that it like with it adapt to the environment. So like what does it that? Let me say the soldiers come, like the thugs come, the thieves come, they manage to jump the fence and they overpower the security guards. So what happened in the first response is that after the security guard had been defeated, they need to go back and respond to the commander saying, we tried to fight against those people, however, we failed. And then now, because we failed, and then it goes and it says, okay, now we need to be ready. When these people come again, we are able to respond in a immediate response. So we put there's a memory, like that triggers and sensors to able to identify those people that next time when they come, so we know that they will able to jump the fence, they will able to overpower the security guards. However, because now there's a memory, by the time they jump the fence and they go and fight the security guard, already the message has been sent to the headquarters to say, oh, please send the help to come and respond. And we call that the adaptive, because there's a memory cell, and you create the memory for those people that when that infection comes, is able to fight against it by sending the antibodies, which in this case they can be like tasers, which able to neutralize those people and able to calm them down. And then after that, the innate immunity can come in and try to destroy them, because those are the ones which are always there. They know how to deal with such infections, and that's how it is. And then that's where our vaccination come into place, because it's coming from the adaptive immunity. Why then does it come in? So what we do is that we give you certain portion of that organisms. After that organism, so because it's a certain portion of organisms which is not really dangerous, then we give it to you. After that, it can able. So we jump the physical barrier because we'll jump the skin and all those stuff. We put it through the injection, and because of that, it's going to encounter those security guards. Security guard will try to fight it. They might defeat it, but because they've defeated it, they send a message to say, yes, we had this intruder try to come in. Like we had the intruder, the intruder which tried to come in place, and because that intruder tried to come in, so and then they create the memory so they're like, okay, next time when it comes, we're able to fight it. We'll send something much faster to come and fight that thing, and then able to destroy it at a faster rate. And that's where the vaccination come in place. So we have different type of vaccination. The first type of vaccination which we have the live is called live attenuated vaccine. And so what does it mean is that they take the organism, like they make it weak, like they can drag it, they can make it anything to be weak, and they take that organism, they give it to you. It's an organism which you can see in there, and the body recognizes it, you try to fight against it. After trying to fight against it, it creates the memory that if the two organisms come, it will be able to destroy it in a fast response action, and that one able to take you to ICU. It won't be severe as it is. That's the first one. And then we have the inactivated one. Like we take an organism, we kill it. After killing it, we give it to you. After giving it to you, and then that one, and then from there, the body recognizes it and also create the memory cell, try to fight against it. Or we can give you subunit of it. So we take organism, maybe we take a small portion of it, maybe we take the spikes, or we take the shell of it and we give it to you, and then the body does the same and recognize it. Or we can give it the toxin, maybe something that organism releases, and then body create the memory cell also against that. As a result, the body will recognize it because of that organism. Maybe it leave toxins as it goes, and because of that, then we can able to destroy it. And sometimes because of then we have viruses. So with viruses, most of the time, what they do, they take a virus, they remove the DNA makeup inside of it. Because virus is just the code and the DNA makeup in it. It's not really it's not really the living organisms. It's just a code, a shell with the DNA in it. So they take that virus, they remove the DNA, and then they give it to you. And then when they give it to you, then you get to see that the body also able to recognize it as a response. And then like from those, like all of them, like they take time to develop them, because you need to take them, you need to grow these organisms. After growing them, you need to make them weak, you need to kill them, you need to do all of that, clean them and test them on the, and then you need to take them, test them on the mouse. After testing on the mouse, you need to take them and test them on a small population, large population to test some side effect and all those stuff. And also you go and test them from the large population also, and after that you give them to the population, and it can take about 10 to 15 or even 20 years. And then that's why many companies, they don't really want to invest in those things, because it takes that long time. At the end, then it fails, and then so the companies don't want to invest in that. So now the new theory, the new way of developing vaccines, it came in, and we call them the DNA or the RNA vaccines. And how does this thing work is that we go and then we're like, okay, with this organisms, maybe this organism, it releases a certain protein or a certain shell. Then we go and find the DNA specifically for that protein or that shell of that organism in that virus or in that organism. And then we make many copies of that DNA or RNA. And after that, we give it to a body, and the body, they go and take that RNA and put it inside the human cell. After putting it inside the human cell, it doesn't go to the nucleus where the DNA is, but it only remains inside the cytoplasm of the cell. And in that cytoplasm of the cell, that's where now then we have the mechanism whereby we take that RNA, then it changes it into a protein. A protein maybe like a spike-like or that cortex of that virus and that organism. And the body will also recognize that thing and also see it as an organism, and then also create the memory cell and becomes it. And hence, and that's how is it. And then that's how, because of that, So you can take a living organism, take that portion of a DNA, replicate that DNA, and produce so many things. In that, you can spend more, like you can spend less time doing that. Because after that, you can take just the capsule of any woman cell, put that DNA or that RNA and transfer and give it to a human being. And then because of that, you can be able to create those codes or those parts of that organism which cause the virus. And in doing that, and become faster and safer also, because of you don't have to spend so much money, you don't have to spend so much time trying to develop this thing, because of there are less side effects on it compared to taking the live vaccine and trying to make it weak and also giving to people. There are many risks of maybe that virus, it can be much strong and try to destroy you, or certain things can happen, and that. So that's a good thing about this that's about the RNA and the DNA vaccine, because of it's much quicker to do, and they're cheaper because of the trial run is faster and it's much safer. I mean, I can move from first trial or first phase to second phase at a short period of time, because of there are less side effects, that there are less things to rule out, because of I'm not giving any pathogen or any organism. I'm just giving the DNA of which the body already knows. It's just that when it gets into human body, we take that DNA, we produce then we produce certain portion of that organisms, and then in doing that, then it becomes better, and because the body creates that, and then they create memory in doing that, and then hence we become immune to the vaccine. That's the main reason why many people now they don't want to vaccinate. The question of why does this vaccine have to be developed in less than 1 year? I think that's the problem now.
And I think that's a very big myth you've just dealt with right there. I also pretty much had a problem with that, because we kind of are used to the fact that, you know what, it does take time to develop a vaccine. It does take at least a decade, you know, to kind of perfect the thing. But I suppose now that you've given that second explanation of the RNA or the DNA process of developing a vaccine, it kind of then sets out as it is. But why then is the government not going ahead, just a rhetorical question, and actually explaining it like this? Because then a lot of people understand and debunk that myth of why, you know, the time has taken such a short space from development to market. But let's leave that. I think that there's one side effect I want to ask you about, though, that some famous singer called Nicki Minaj spoke about. She says her friend's cousin, after getting the vaccine, the testicles exploded almost. So do we have infertility as one of the side effects that you've heard about this virus? Are they really trying to neutralize us so that we cannot have babies in the future?
Not really. Like the most common side effect which you would experience whenever you take any vaccine is common in any vaccines which you take, unless maybe you have allergies to a certain portion which those vaccines are developed. For example, I know that most of the previous vaccines, because of it's the organism itself, they used to be grown in the eggs. And most of the people who are allergic to eggs or eggshell or anything, they're the most one who will be like, who will have most of the severe side effect. But besides that, if you're not really allergic to egg or any eggshell, you won't have any severe side effect. The most side effect which we really encounter in most of the time, the first one is the pain. Like, because of you're going to use the needle, people are going to experience pain, and people exaggerate pain indifferently. My pain of injection is different from your pain of injection, and it will be different from another. And because of that, you can't judge that saying, because I got the vaccine, it's too painful, and then you'll advise people not to take it. That's the first type of side effect which we have. Or if not, you can have the anaphylaxis reaction. The anaphylaxis reaction is mostly predominantly due to the allergies of, like the allergies the patient must have due to the portion of that vaccine, having that portion specific antigen or specific antigen which the body does recognize as an allergic or as an allergy, and because of that, the people can develop anaphylaxis reaction. But it's rare. It's rare compared to one person hidden by lightning. That's how rare it is. Like in this country, we get to see many people being hidden by lightning, but like the allergic reaction is way less than that. So that's how it is, but it's not really that common. And also then after those side effects, those ones I can be the like the immediate response within 1 hour, within 1 hour of getting the vaccine. Those are the ones that you can get. And then after that, maybe from 4 hours to a 12-hour period, you might find getting the headache, the fever, you get tired, you feel your muscle pain and all those stuff. Those are the good things. Those is what we want. Those side effects. Because if you don't have those side effects, it means that your body haven't recognized that organism or that vaccine. Because at the end, we're giving you that vaccine so that the body to think that this is an organism, I need to fight against it and create the memory for it. And then, so that's one thing that you want. Because as soon as you start feeling the headache, start feeling the fever, you get tired, your body is feeling pain and getting chills, it's because your body is trying to fight against like that portion of that organisms and trying to create the memory. So it's trying to create the memory by trying to fight against that and trying to destroy that. And in that place, then you create the memory. And then next time you experience the real organism, then you'll be fine. And those are the one. And then maybe they might continue and persistence maybe up until one like 24 hours to 48 hours, and then maybe after that, then you might go back to normal after that, and then you won't have any problem. We never had any side effect with people. Like, those are the myths with people that don't believe in all this. But sometimes you might find a person having a certain underlying conditions, and that underlying condition, the person didn't know about it. They take a vaccine. After that condition, maybe it come now, it emerges, and then now the diagnosis, and then the person think that was caused by the vaccine, but that's not really the true part of it. It's just that you might find the people have the underlying conditions, and now they're coming into picture after taking the vaccine or what, but it's not really the true thing which we get to see in most of the cases.
All right, understandable. And I think the one underlying condition that companies like Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson have is that they like to make money. Now, one of the biggest conspiracies, of course, that comes through with good reason, I think, appealing, of course, to your conscience as a political doctor more than just a medical doctor, is that these companies are in it to make the money. They are not making these vaccines because they like us and they want us to survive, and out of their good heart and their goodwill, they are cashing in big time. In fact, Pfizer is projected to make about $30 billion US this year alone. 30 billion Pfizer. I've got 2 Pfizer jabs that I got, so I know I'm contributing to that bottom line of theirs. So can we really discount the fact that actually there is also a money element to this, even though we've got a pandemic that we're dealing with? Can that actually fuel and add, and can we accept it as fact that money is driving some of these decisions?
Pharmaceutical company is money in most of the cases, but the reason why it's money, but not really money, but like I will give one example, because I'm like a normal drug.
$30 billion US is a lot of money. You can't say it's not like really money. It's a lot of money. If we put that in rands, that's how many times what times 10, $300 billion. Yeah, wait.
Okay, that's true, Mr. Ronald. But now we have this thing because of like, for example, let me say like the company today, they want to develop, let me say they want to develop the vaccine for HIV, for example. I'll just make an example of HIV because it's still in the long run and currently still not yet found. So what many companies does is that, for example, they produce 10 different drugs, for example, and they create those 10 different drugs. It costs money for them to develop all those 10 different drugs. And then they take them through phases. Let me say those phases will take them 15 years to get to the final stage, like to get to the final product. So those 10 drugs, they'll start with them, but I guarantee you that by the time they get to phase 2, maybe they'll be left with two or 5 drugs remaining from that 10. And then maybe by the time they get to the final stage of this trial, they're left with 1 or 2 drugs which they're left with, and maybe those 2 drugs, they take time to be in the market, to be approved or to work. And because of that, so it became a problem, it became a dilemma because of now they spend so much money in the initial phase that at the end, maybe they come with 1 drug or sometimes nothing. And because of that, so they need to put that into consideration whenever designing these drugs. And then let me say after that, they got one drug approved and that drug is successful. And then they're given 20 years grace period that they need to recoup all the money that they made from the drug. Because after that 20 years, that drug, it loses its patency, meaning that any company after that, they will be able to produce that drug without requiring permission from those companies. So hence you get to see some money being so much, hence you get to see so much of this drug being expensive, especially when they're released in the first time. How much is a Panado now? So Panado is very cheap, Disprin is very cheap, and all those medication which you can get them over-counter medication are very cheap. The reason why they are very cheap is because they've been produced way long time ago, and because they're produced way long time ago, they lost its patency, and anyone can produce them at any rate or at anyhow without requiring the patency of the first developer. So meaning that currently the main producers or the first person who produced Panado Disprin, they're losing money because of that case. So now, currently, I would just say that Pfizer, Moderna, and all those companies, the reason why they're recouping so much money is because they're trying to bring back all the money that they spend on these vaccines, and also so that they will be able to recoup them. That by the time they lose the patency of these vaccines, they will have recovered all the money, and in doing that, and then it won't be a loss for them.
Yeah, I'm not going to further this one because, I think from a moral perspective, really there are a lot of questions that we have to ask these big pharmas regarding, of course, the development and the sale of these vaccinations, especially in this time where people are actually really dying, and we are seeing it on a daily basis, something that you see when you work in hospital on a daily basis almost. And I think just this is the final question on Tolerance. You now haven't taken the oath yet. You're about to do that. You're about to graduate. And I know as a doctor, of course, it's going to be difficult for you to actually tell people to say, take the vaccine or don't take the vaccine. So we got you at the right time. We got you at the perfect time where you haven't taken the oath. And we must then put the question to you to say, what should people do out there? Half the people that are listening to this show right now have not taken the vaccine according to statistics. That's about 50% of South Africans. Should we take that jab?
So my advice is that, yes, take the vaccine so that when you take the vaccine, you're not only protecting yourself, but you're protecting people around you. You're creating the herd immunity because you're creating the herd immunity. And because of that, then you'll protect the people around you also. So also, it will depend on person to person, but my advice will say, take the jab, and also that you can be protected, and so that the next generation also will be protected against that. And then we won't have the problem whereby we still have this pandemic running in the long run, that it continue killing many, it continue killing many of our brothers and sisters, and continue being a cycle that now we're in level 5, we go back to level 1, and we go back to level 5. And then we need to stop that cycle, that maybe we can go back to level 1 or 2. And then that is a good thing, because now we don't want to go back to level 5, because level 5 was difficult for most of people. Because if we don't take the vaccine, it means that the infections are going to increase also. And then we go back to hard lockdown, many people continue losing their job, and it become more difficult, become severe. The country can't survive, and it can't able to further and manage other people also who suffer from other conditions also.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tolerance, for gracing our show today. We really appreciate you coming through. It's a privilege and honor really to have you. And of course, you kind of went out of your way to do some research for this show, to take time actually to educate us really on these things. And we really appreciate that. We know, of course, you're supposed to be studying and preparing for exams, but you've given us this time and we appreciate it. Thank you, Van.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald. And I hope everyone will take the vaccine and be fine.
Thank you, Chad. So thank you very much, everybody. You've heard it for yourselves. It's actually absolutely very important. The young man says we must go and take the vaccination. Go get that jab. Let's prevent, this whole thing of ending up in hospital and potentially even in the grave because we're unprotected. It's free. Get to any community center. Let's ask the questions later and see, of course, the moral issues that follow up from the 300 billion that some people are making overnight. Otherwise, it's a good evening from myself here in Pretoria. Looking forward to meet you again next week when you talk about the mentorship of young women and how that's important, of course, in trying to bring that into the women into the economic space. And we've got a good guest for that as well, who's going to be talking to us. But otherwise, it is good night from Pretoria. See you guys soon.
Thank you.